Okay, Chaz, when you're ready.
Okay. So, my name is Chaz PoL, and this is my presentation of learning. Okay. So, my name is Agent T, and I am a secret spy sent by the government. My task was to make sure that everything is running smoothly in this program. I was sent here to learn the ways of the MPX9 students, and I was sent here to make sure that this program would be a good place to learn. Throughout the second semester of this year, I learned many skills and I learned many ways to overcome challenges so that I wouldn't be exposed or so that people wouldn't know that I was a spy. Okay, so the skills that I've learned was cooking, communication, managing my time, how to work better with others, and creativity. But I couldn't have learned these skills without going through missions or objectives. This is where I had to go through these, and this is where I learned. KCC and MPI and Chef is where I learned how to cook. Plating our dish is creativity. Joint periods is how to work better with others. Year-long project is time management. And the Congo Shoe project is communication. And infographics is creativity. So the first skill that I learned was how to cook. Before I came to MPX, I pretty much knew nothing about how to cook. The only thing I knew how to make was rice, and can't survive. So throughout the first semester, we went through KCC a couple of times. We learned the basics of cooking, but it didn't really help me make a dish. Throughout the first semester, over spring break, I tried to make something, but it failed. Throughout second semester, we learned more of the specific types of cooking styles, how to make sure that everything's cooked, and which is where I really learned how to sharpen my skills of cooking. In order to learn how to cook, I had to go through two objectives, which was MPR and Chef and cooking at KCC, and I had to overcome two challenges, which was rushing and trial and error. Okay, so cooking at KCC. Throughout the second semester of KCC, we learned how to cook our dish, and we learned how to create a recipe and the specific ways of how to cook our stir fry, and we practiced it throughout the second or the fourth quarter of the year. But when you're cooking these kind of dishes and we're learning how to cook our stir fry, it wasn't the most perfect all the time, and we didn't get it perfect on the first try. And this is where the first challenge of trial and error showed itself. I had to learn how to be patient, and I had to learn how to fail when it came to cooking. And I had to learn how to learn from my mistakes and learn how to remake the food that went wrong. And when it came down to MPI and Chef, make sure that I was making it correctly. So in order to overcome this challenge, I had to make sure that when I was making these mistakes, I was learning from them, not just making them and keep on making it. I had to learn from one of my mistakes, and when it came down to making it one more time or came down to MPR and Chef, I was making it correctly. So MPR and Chef. When MPR and Chef is when all the groups came together, created their dish, and we had a mini cook-off. The dishes would be graded by 5 judges, and the best dish would win. So knowing our group and knowing the people in our group, we wanted to win, and we wanted to make sure that everything went perfectly. But in order for things to go perfectly, we needed a plan. But in order for the plan to work, we needed to make sure that we weren't rushing or we weren't procrastinating and making. So we had to create a table of what we were doing and the time. So when we planned, it went more smoothly. The things that we wanted to do happened when we wanted to, and things didn't go wrong as much as we wanted it to. But when it came to MPR and Chef, one challenge occurred, which was rushing. And when we're cooking, we want to rush and we want to get through this and we want to present. But if we're rushing and we mess up somewhere, then it's going to cost us a lot. And I needed to learn how to follow the timeline and not rush or not take too much time, because if we took too much time, then we would go over the limit, or our plate would be too cold for the judge to eat. But if we rushed, then we could have missed something, and our plate wouldn't taste good, and it just wouldn't turn out as good as we wanted it to. Okay, the next skill that I learned was communication skills. I believe that communication skills is the most important skill to learn throughout life, throughout school, throughout anything. When you communicate, you're able to convey a message, convey information, and MPX taught me how to do that throughout the second semester. I had to go through one objective and I had to overcome one challenge, which was fear of failure. When I'm talking to adults, I'm not the most confident person. I feel like I'm going to say something wrong, or I feel like I'm going to mess up in somehow or some way, and I'm going to sound stupid, or I'm not going to say what I want or need to say. So the objective that I had to go through was this Congo shoe project. So this Congo shoe project was where we had to take a conflict for our exams, and paint it and write an essay, and in Weinberg Tech Plaza we would have a silent auction. My job for this was to stand outside and greet the parents coming in, or whoever wanted to come in, and give them a flyer, say, hello, are you here for the Congo shoe project? Let them in, give them a flyer. As simple as that sounds, I am not the kind of person that likes to just speak freely to complete strangers. So this wasn't something I was very comfortable with. I had to learn to just do what I'm supposed to do, stay calm, think more confidently than I actually am. Because the more confidence I put in myself, the more slower I speak, the more confident I sound. And the things that I say are what I mean to say. It doesn't come out wrong like MPR and Jeff. When I was talking to the judges, I said something completely off. So in order to overcome this challenge of fear of failure, I had to stay calm, I had to sound confident, I had to speak slower than I usually do, so that when I was saying things, it was what I really meant to say. Okay, the most important skill that I learned was time management. But there was also the most hardest challenge that I had to overcome, which was laziness. And what laziness did was it made that top part smaller and that bottom part bigger. And I think that laziness really affected how I did my work, when I did my work, and it affected my grades at some point, and how I did my work. So when it came to these objectives that I had to do, which was the POL and the year-long projects, I sometimes procrastinated and sometimes didn't want to do the work when I was given the time to do it. And I had to overcome this challenge of laziness, and I had to go through these objectives, which is where I learned to manage my time better. So the first objective was the POL. Now, when we were given this POL, we had about 1 week to do this. It's not the hardest task to do because we were doing this before. We did this before, and it's not completely new to us. All we had to do was create 5 skills that we learned, things to back it up, and artifacts to show that we learned this. But the thing was that because we only had 1 week to do it, we had almost every single class period to work on it. And knowing the challenge of laziness and you having 1.5 hours to do an entire class period to just work on one thing, it was hard to stay on task. And I had to learn to stay on task, and I had to keep saying to myself, to finish the work first so that I can get a good grade, because grades to me matter everything, and it's more important than outside activities like games or social media or stuff like that. So in order to overcome help to overcome the challenge of laziness, I have to keep telling myself to do the work first, to motivate myself to stop playing games, to stop doing other things other than the work, and to stay on task. But there was also another challenge of notifications, but that's another challenge. But it was easy to conquer because all you had to do was turn off the notifications. When I was working on this POL, I was very focused, but it took one notification to take me off focus, because then I was suddenly focused on that thing that popped up. Then I wanted to look at it, I wanted to go to that app. So I had to learn to go and turn off the notifications on everything that would distract me, so that it was easier to stay on focus and it was easier to get my work done before I decided to play or do other things. Okay, the next objective was a year-long project. So in the beginning of the year, when I heard that we would get a year-long project, the first thing I thought was, I have a year to finish this. I don't have to do it all right now. And the thing that really woke me up was that the year went by a lot faster than I thought it would. The thing that we do throughout the year is not only this one project, but it's 5 or 4 other different assignments or projects while we're doing this one thing. So I had to manage my time, I had to prioritize my work so that the things that were due earlier would get done, and the things that were due later would get done, but it would also get done on time. But this challenge of laziness kept occurring because when there's a lot of tasks to do and you feel that there's a lot of work to do, you just don't want to do any of it. You feel that I'll just do it later. I've put off work a couple of times, but what I've learned to do was do one thing at a time. So it's not, I have 5 assignments to do. I have one assignment, then I finish, and then I have another assignment. So it's one thing at a time instead of 5 different things at once. The next skill that I learned was how to work better with others. Now, this skill has helped me inside and outside of school and in and out of MPS in my standard classes. When I had to work better with others in Japanese class or when we had other projects that didn't have to do with MPS. I had to go through one objective and a challenge of selfishness. Now, when you have to work with others, things don't always run as smoothly as you think you do, and you don't always come to an agreement as fast as you want to, because sometimes I wanted to be, sometimes I was selfish. I wanted my way. I wanted stuff to happen the way I wanted it, and sometimes my group members wanted it their way. So I had to learn to overcome this challenge, and that's how I learned to work better with others. So the objective that I had to go through was joint periods. Now, in joint periods, I learned to bond with my 5 group members, and it wasn't just 5 people working on one task. It was 5 friends that was trying to accomplish one goal. So when we had that mentality, it was a lot easier to work together with each other, and it was a lot easier to compromise with each other. Because when I got to know all of my group members, I learn their strengths and weaknesses, so when it came to a task, I knew who was good or who was not good at a certain thing, so I knew who should have it their way and who shouldn't have it their way. So when it came to things like drawing, Cole would be the person that would draw because he was the best drawer in our group. So when he had an idea, it would be pushed more towards his idea instead of maybe mine or Noah, because he knew more about the topic. Or when it came to more of the building kind of stuff, then Noah knew more about it, so we let him do more of the stuff. Okay, the last skill that I learned was creativity. So creativity is not something you can just learn very easily. It's something that you have to practice and something that comes over time. So I had to go through 2 objectives, and I had to face one challenge of making everything that I was going to do unique. So the first objective was plating our dish. Now, our dish was stir fry, and it was not the easiest thing to make with olive rice and olive vegetables and nice. So we had to come up of a way to plate our dish to make it look nice, and we had to be creative and unique so that it wasn't just copying an idea off of the internet, but at the same time it was being creative and taking ideas but being unique in our own ways. The challenge of being unique was difficult to overcome because it was not a easy plate to dish, and we had to learn how to work together with each other to incorporate all of our ideas, and we ended up plating a dish that I believe that was creative and unique in its own way. Lastly, infographics. Now, throughout the second semester, we had to start incorporating more information into our infographics. So it was a lot more difficult to make things look nice. So we had to take a broader topic, I had to research about it, condense the information, and then make it look nice on a piece of paper or on an iPad. Throughout the year, we did a lot of infographics, and we had to be creative with each one and make each one look different. But the thing of making each one unique was a lot harder than just being creative with an idea, because I could have just tied everything into the same thing and made everything look the same except change the topic. But in order to be unique, I had to change the way of everything being arranged so that it would still look nice and creative, but at the same time it's still displaying enough information and it would meet the reader. Okay, so throughout the second semester, I believe that my mission was complete. The year was done, and I learned everything about the MTX9 program. Everything ran smoothly, and I believe that this is a good program to learn from. After the year is done, I will return to the government to get my next assignment.
Okay. Questions? Chaz. I have.
Why was time management your most important skill in college?
Because there was a lot of tasks to be done, and I had to. Because there was a lot of tasks to be done, and I had to learn how to manage my time to get each one done on time.
Cody?
Sorry, like, I had a hard time thinking of my storyline, so Kaya helped me out on that one. He gave me the idea of the spy in the government. So yeah, I kind of went from there.
Tyler. Oh, sorry. Tyler.
How would you describe the chemistry of your group now?
I think we work good together. I think that even though we might have problems within the group, we get things done on time.
Okay. And that's a good lesson, guys, is that sometimes, you know, in a fantasy world, we think we should all get along. In real life, when you guys start working in your careers, you know, ideally you want to get along with everybody and get work done. But realistically, you're not going to get along with everybody. Okay? But the important thing is you still got to get the work done, like Chaz just said. Yeah? That's a good lesson to think about, is that, you know, you're going to work with people that you're not going to get along with. But you have to be able to get the work done. Okay? And I saw a few groups like that here. And I was happy to see that even though maybe they didn't get along, they weren't best of friends, they still were able to get the work done. And we see that every year. Okay?
What's your theme last time?
For first semester, we all had to do the super.